All right, go ahead and be seated. Let me get Alan to put up our birthday. Don, I'm going to need you at the piano. Don't move. Man, every time I see this slide this month, I'm going to get hungry. This is our birthdays of June. Dan had a birthday already on June 1st. Sue has a birthday tomorrow. And Adam has a birthday June 13th. Alex has a birthday June 16th. And Miss Diana has a birthday June 22nd. Did we leave anybody out? Did we miss anybody? Anybody have a birthday that we didn't know? No? Got all the June birthdays. All right. Well, let's sing happy birthday to all these that have a birthday this month. Ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. God bless you. Happy birthday to you. All right. Well, I am going to do something that nobody knows about but me. Allie, come up here. We have the last several years during our graduation service, we have had the siblings of our graduates kind of tell us something about their brother or sister and tell us why you're glad they're graduating, what it's like going to school with Alex, and anything else you want to tell us about him, okay? All right.
I didn't write anything and this wasn't planned, so I don't know. Him going to college is kind of going to be hard for me because we're like kind of sort of best friends, and I don't know. It's crazy how fast time flies, and I'm gonna miss him. That's all I gotta say.
All right, Yzma. Come on, you're a sibling too. You tell us something funny about Alex, okay? Oh, yeah. You want to tell us about Alex, okay?
Okay, well, I think I'm definitely gonna miss Alex because he's a kind of inspiration to me since he's my older brother. Always look up to him, and now that he's leaving, it's gonna be weird. Yeah.
And he says, "I'm so glad to have a room of my own." Not that he doesn't love you, Alex, but he'll be glad when you're gone. Have a room of his own. All right, Mom, you want to say anything about your son? You can do it right there. Yeah. Amen. Time for him to grow up. All right. All right. Let's open it up for one more group. Any of you guys want to say anything about Alex? Jake? Come on. Come on, Jake. Say something about Alex. These guys know him best probably outside of his family.
Well, I guess I'm kind of glad he's leaving. I'm just kidding. No, I guess it's I don't know. Yeah. No, it's been really fun being his friend. He's probably like he's really good influence. He just knows how to take the best out of every situation. I don't think I've ever seen him like sad or well, I've seen him mad. He gets mad in Fortnite all the time, but I don't know. He's a good influence to me and everyone around him. I think.
Well, I have the easiest because he's actually going with me, so he's not leaving at all. But Alex, he's been a great friend. I've known him for a long time, and we've done a lot of fun stuff, a lot of stupid stuff over the years. But we've had a lot of fun. He's taught me so much on how to just enjoy people's company and just meet new people and just have fun with life and just enjoy life and everything. He's just always so happy and excited. And we're going to have fun in college. But that's it for me. Not too much.
Well, after 18 years, he has finally graduated from preschool. I could say I've never been prouder of him ever. But no, Alex is a really good person. I mean, he just takes the best out of everything. Whenever he messes up, he just laughs with everybody who laughs at him. I mean, no matter how bad he messes up. And I know he's done some things. But he just takes the best out of every situation and just laughs at it. He's just such a good person, and I hope he does well at college.
Oh, come on, Don.
Surprise. Alex, I've been hard on Alex. I mean, every time I just give him a hard time. Just like earlier, when that little girl playing the ukulele was like, "Oh, that's so sad that she plays better than Alex." It is sad, but it is what it is. But I'm actually very, very happy about how Alex grew into a fine young man. Just like when we started the group singing, them leading the songs, stepped up to serve here at the church, because I can't play and lead the singing at the same time, so it's gonna be hard. And then these boys right here, they stepped up, and it's very special to me, for the church. I know for Pastor too. I know Pastor hates leading the singing, and I don't think Adam will do it. So yeah, no, Adam, sorry. No, but yeah. So this guy stepped up and took that role, and it's like bringing back some memories. I started, uh, when I was in high school back in the Philippines. You know, um, Playing the piano, singing, and leading the congregational singing. So I'm like, Alex is like my son in that aspect, that he's following the trail that I walked through life, and I know God will use him in the future. Great and mighty things stored for Alex. Uh, yeah, I hate to say this, Alex, but I'm gonna miss you. Yeah.
I'm glad this stage can hold me. A little heavy. I usually get up every year and say something about the graduates. But I gotta say, I really enjoy Alex. Past few years, he's been in my class, and I gotta tell you, uh, honestly, I think he's most like me in a sense that he is that way, taking every situation in stride, and I greatly appreciate it because I screw up way more than I should, and he laughs about it and makes it funny, and it's great. I think he's matured a lot over the years, which is amazing, and there's a lot more maturing to do. But I'll tell you what, I still haven't grown up as much yet, so don't worry. You have plenty of room to be goofy, but there's times to be serious as well. So Florida's a long way away, so be good. Um, Well, lastly, I don't know what else to say. This is a little awkward, but no, I'm glad that he's going off to a good place, and we'll miss you. Miss you. Be good. All right. Amen.
Your dad snuck in. Omar, you want to come and say something about Alex?
Wow. How's everybody doing? I just want to say, first of all, that I'm really proud of Alex. Mom and me are very proud of you. We love you so much. We know, actually, I don't know how hard it is to graduate because I never graduated. So, being my first son, carrying my name is very special to me. And so I know it was very difficult. You know, when I turned 18, I said, wait a minute, I'm an adult. I don't have to go to school. I chose the wrong path. But I appreciate that no matter how hard you know, it was for you, because I know academically he's like me, we don't like school, you know. But unfortunately, you know, you had a dad and a mom that will push you and to make sure that this is what you're gonna do, and because you're gonna make something out of your life. And you know, I just want to let you know that I'm really proud of you. I couldn't have done asked for anything better. You know, I've seen so many, you know, parents have, you know, kids that give them so much trouble. This guy is so easygoing. You guys, if you guys ever want to borrow him, you can borrow him. He's so easygoing. You know, very patient. You know, every kids they go through, you know, their teenagers and you know, they give you a little bit of problems, but like so very minimal, and I really appreciate that, because you could have gone against the grain a lot, and you didn't, and I appreciate that. And I just want to say that I appreciate, you know, all the men here that have given him, you know, words of wisdom, because as a dad trying to give him godly advice, sometimes it's difficult in this world. But there's no better friend to that dad than someone backing that up. And so, Pastor, I appreciate you and all the men here and all the women that have given him advice and have, you know, backed them up and, you know, telling them, you know, about the things, the way the Lord wants things to get done. And I really appreciate that from this church. And, you know, now that you're getting to be on your own, I just want you to know that you got to be even more patient, you know, because now you're free and you can do whatever you want. And that's when a lot of the problems come in. And so you have to be stronger. You got to be more patient. And you got to wait on what the Lord wants from you. Because if you do things your ways, you're always going to have problems. It's going to be harder for you. So be more patient. Wait on the Lord. Read your Bible. So that's how he speaks to you. And so read your word, and you know, there's that world is open for you. There's so many possibilities. You know, just wait on the Lord. I just want to let you know that I love you. Mom loves you. Your grandparents love you. Your brother and sister love you. And they're gonna miss you, and I'm gonna miss you. Okay? I love you. Thank you.
I think we've got a little bit of a slideshow presentation of some embarrassing pictures. Who doesn't like that? And so we dug up the most embarrassing pictures we could find. And we want everybody to see them. And so, Alan, go ahead with that. every year when we have graduates graduate, we always try and give them the most important thing that we as a church can give to them, and that's a copy of God's Word. And we put their name on it, and we just want them to know this is the most important thing that they can have in their life. I'll say this to you, Alex, and you and your mom and dad probably don't even know this, but I know when we moved out here in 2005, my wife had one prayer request, and he's sitting right over here. She did not want to play the piano, so she began praying for God to send us a piano player, and about a month after we started, God sent us Don. And he's been like family to us since we started. I mean, he was here alone, we were here alone, and he's just been like a family member. But my prayer request is I saw my boys leave their friends, leave their church and all their friends, and follow their mom and dad out to a place where we didn't know anybody. And being homeschooled, not around other kids, I began to pray, God, send my boys some friends. Send them somebody they can be a friend with. And you and your family are an answer to that prayer. A lot of people don't want pastors' kids around because they're afraid they'll go home and tell the pastor things at church, But Omar and Gabby have just always welcomed our boys right into their home and around their family. And they're an answer to our prayers, answer to my prayers. And Alex has been a really good friend to my two sons. And I appreciate that, Alex, because I'm pretty picky about who I want my sons to be friends with. And I appreciate it's not perfect, but neither are my kids. That's for sure. But I appreciate Alex's spirit and just his demeanor. It's always respectful, always just helpful, wanting to help out. And there was a lot of things that I could look at in his life and I could say, my boys can take a note kind of from their friend. And I appreciate you. And I'm privileged to have been your pastor. And I'm not going to stop being your pastor, though you're graduating. But I'll always be your pastor. But I'm privileged that God brought you into my life. And I'm so happy for you today to present this to you. And I want you to have this Bible and know that we love you. All right, Jake's going to come lead us in a song now. And we get all that out.
Well, page 6 will have to work. Please stand and turn to page 6. Canaan land is just in sight. Moses led God's children 40 years. He led them through the cold, through the night. Though they said, let's turn back, Moses said, keep going. Canaan land is just in sight. There will be no sorrow there, in that tomorrow they will be there by and by. Milk and honey flowing, there is where I'm going. Canaan land is just inside. Though we walk through valleys, though we climb high mountains, we must not give up the fight. We must be like Moses, we must keep on going. Canaan land is just inside. There will be no sorrow there, in that tomorrow we will be there by and by. Milk and honey flowing, there is where I'm going. Canaan Really good singing, everybody. You may be seated.
And well, let's look in our Bible tonight just at kind of the passage that goes along with that song. We chose that song for a purpose and a reason. I want you to look with me in Joshua chapter number 4 tonight. Joshua chapter number 4. We call them rites. We call them milestones in our life. We commemorate them with ceremonies and certificates and celebrations. There are a lot of days like that in our life that come along. Graduation day is one of those days, but so too is your wedding. So too is birthdays and other days that are important to us. And these are days of accomplishment and joy. And in our lives, they're significant. And we ought to commemorate them and we ought to remember them. Now, I heard about a guy that was having a memory trouble, a guy named John, and he had a really horrible memory. And one day a friend ran into John who hadn't seen him in a long time, and he greeted him and he said, John says, Bill, so good to see you. Do you remember I used to have such trouble with my memory? I had such a bad memory. And Bill answered, yes, I certainly do remember that. John says, well, it's not bad anymore. I went to a seminar that taught me how to remember things, and that was a great seminar, and now I have a wonderful memory. Bill answered, that is wonderful. That is great. What was the name of that seminar? Well, John said, wait a minute. My wife went with me. I'll ask her. He turned and saw his wife nearby, and then he turned back to Bill and said, Bill, what is the name of that flower with the long stem and the thorns and a red bloom? Bill said, do you mean a rose? Yes, thanks. Rose, do you remember the name of that seminar that we went to? I don't think it helped John. And you better remember your anniversary, guys. And some people are like that, man, when it comes to remembering important things in their life. And the Bible is filled with examples. If you really sit and you think about it, and you study the Bible, you'll find that the Bible is filled with examples of milestones, markers, and monuments being built. Every altar that was built was a monument. It was something built to be remembered. Something significant happened in the life of Abraham or Isaac or Jacob, and they built an altar there. And it was really more than an altar. It was a monument. It was a marker of a turning point in their life. Maybe some great victory had been accomplished or some other achievement or some blessing. And spiritual milestones are the most significant. They're the most important. And we find many of those kind of spiritual milestones mentioned in the scriptures. And we're going to look at two of them tonight. First of all, in Joshua chapter number 4, we want to look at the first one here. The Bible says there in verse number 1, and it came to pass when all the people were clean passed over Jordan, that the Lord spake unto Joshua, saying, take you 12 men out of the people, out of every tribe a man, and command ye them, saying, take ye hence of the midst of Jordan, out of the place where the priest's feet stood firm, 12 stones, and ye shall carry them over with you, and leave them in the lodging place where ye shall lodge this night. And Joshua called the 12 men whom he had prepared of the children of Israel out of every tribe a man. And Joshua said unto them, pass over before the ark of the Lord your God into the midst of the Jordan, and take ye up every man of you a stone upon his shoulder. Now this was not a pebble. And you men and you ladies know that if you carry something heavy, one of the ways that you carry is you hoist it up and you let it rest on your shoulder because it's too heavy to carry this way. And so these stones were large stones that they were carrying on their shoulder, and they were not only carrying them because they were heavy that way, because they're heavy, they're going to carry them for a long time. They're going to carry them until they lodge that night. And so from the time they leave Jordan until the time they pitch their tents that night, they're going to be carrying these stones. And he said, upon his shoulder, according unto the number of the tribes of the children of Israel, that this may be a sign among you, that when your children ask their fathers in time to come, saying, what mean ye by these stones? Then ye shall answer them that the waters of Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it passed over Jordan, the waters of Jordan were cut off. And these stones shall be for a memorial unto the children of Israel forever. And the children of Israel did so as Joshua commanded, and took up 12 stones out of the midst of Jordan, and as the Lord spake unto Joshua, according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel, and carried them over unto the place where they lodged, and laid them down there. And Joshua set up 12 stones in the midst of Jordan, in the place where the feet of the priests which bear the ark of the covenant stood, and they are there until this day. Now here we see a monument that is being constructed. And I want to call this monument a monument of culmination. A monument of culmination. And Alex, graduation is a culmination. It's a turning point in life. It is a point of arrival, a point of destination that you work so hard and you work so long, and it seems like it's so many years that you have to go to school to get there. And it truly is an achievement. It's like a mountaintop. It's a culminating point in our life. And here we see Joshua and the children of Israel were putting up such a monument to commemorate a day in their life like this. 40 years ago, they left Egypt. And for the last 40 years, they have been wandering around in a huge circle in the wilderness. Around and around and around they've went, traveling in a circle, until now, after 40 years, they have finally crossed the Jordan River and are entering into Canaan, to the promised land. And this was a turning point in their life. This was a definite page turning point in their life. And so I see here in this monument of culmination, the transition, first of all. This was a period of transition in their life. No longer would they be wanderers. Now they would be occupiers. No longer would they be living in tents. Now they would settle into the land, and they would build houses, and they would plant vineyards, and they would become people who resided in that land. This was a definite transition point in their life. And Alex, graduation is a transition point in your life. And all of us have those transition points in our life. Age is sometimes a transition point, isn't it not? Some of you, John retired a couple of years ago, and Gail retired this year. That is a transition point. That is a definite time where things that you've always gotten accustomed to the way they were, they're now different. Some people don't adjust well to that. Some people get bored out of their minds. They got 60 chickens now to take care of. And have become the egg supplier for Merced Baptist Church. And we're all blessed by it. But some people don't handle it that well. They don't handle transition very well. And the truth is, all of us don't really like change that much. Now, there are certain changes that we're okay with, but there are things in your life that will upset you if they're changed. There are little things that you like just the way that they're done, just the way that they are, and if things don't stay the same in that area, you don't like that. Alex, things are about to change. And I remember just a few years ago when Bryson was going through this time, he was like, I don't want to grow up. He was like mad. He was frustrated that I was making him grow up. And I wasn't the one doing it. Age is the one doing it. And there's nothing I can do to stop him from aging. And it's just transition. And it's time to grow up, and it's time to get a job, and it's time to think about adult responsibility and those kind of things. And that transition is sometimes difficult and it's sometimes hard. You know, for 40 years, they had been wandering around in the same wilderness. I wonder how many times they had seen that same mountain, seen that same rock. I've seen that rock a dozen times. How many times had they longed for a place to settle down and build a home only to have to pick up and move on? It was a long, difficult 40 years, and now all of that was changing. And I know, maybe, Alex, you think high school, man, that was hard enough. Now I'm on easy street. I'm an adult. I've got it made now. Well, let me tell you, if they thought wandering in the wilderness was hard, it was going to be nothing compared to what was about to take place in their life. They were going to have to fight for every inch of ground, for everything that they got. God wasn't just going to hand it to them. They were going to have to do their part. And that's life. Is that not life, folks? Life is not handed to you. It's something to be earned. It's something we've got to strive for. It's something we got to work for. And this was a transition point in their life, and such a momentous occasion, bringing an end to 40 years of wandering, deserved to be commemorated, and this deserves to be recognized and honored. It was a time of transition, but I'll say this to all of you tonight. Transition periods in our life are the most dangerous periods in our life spiritually. We get in our little habits spiritually, and some of those habits are actually good. And then we go through a transition period that disrupts those. And we miss a service here, miss a service there, and pretty soon we're missing more services than we thought we ever would. And it can happen when we get a new job. It can happen when we move to a new place. It can happen at any time in our transition. It can happen when we have our first baby. It can happen at any time in our life. We go through those transition periods, and those are some of the most perilous periods in our life when it comes to spiritual things. And just as it was for these, this was a time of, think about this. For 40 years they've been wandering, but now they are entering into a place that 40 years ago their parents refused to go into because they saw the people, they saw the challenge, and they said, it's too great for us. We can't do it. And now their children and grandchildren are about to step into a challenge that their parents were too afraid to face. Don't you think it was a period of uncertainty? Don't you think it was a period of fear? And I don't know any young person, college age, even Lorena sitting there, she's in college now. But I can tell you, in the back of her mind and in her heart, there's some uncertainty about, okay, I'm graduating. I know this is what's before me right now. But what happens next? Where do I go from here? And that's a period of fear and uncertainty in our life. And we've got to be careful with that we don't give in to that fear. We don't give in to those. What we can ask, what will happen to us? What challenges will we face? What does the future hold? For 40 years, God had been teaching them that the answers to these questions weren't nearly as important as the answer of who is holding the future. In other words, we may not know about tomorrow, but we can know who holds it. And we can know that His plan is always the right plan. And that His way is always the best way. It's the perfect way. And instead of being fearful about tomorrow, instead of being fearful about that transition period in our life, we can look to God and say, God, I don't know what the future holds, and I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I know You already do. And I'm just going to trust in You. I'm just going to look to You. We could look at it a different way too. There were probably some, because you always know some people like this, that have a very careless attitude about transition. And if you read on in the book of Joshua, you find that there was that too. What do I mean by that? Well, some people underestimate the challenge. Some people are too fearful of the challenge, and so they won't even take the challenge on. They'd rather just stay in their little comfort zone and stay in their little shell and not go through those periods that will challenge us, not transition. Others underestimate the challenge and think, well, I got this. This is going to be no problem. I got this all taken care of. And they underestimate the challenge. And when you do that, you're headed for a fall. If you read on in the book of Joshua, the children of Israel just defeated one of the most mighty cities in all of Canaan, Jericho. And they really didn't defeat them. All they did was march around the city. And God defeated them. And the very next place that God tells them, I want you to go, is I want you to go down here to this little bitty town called Ai. Compared to Jericho, it would be like comparing Merced to Fresno. Or maybe Planada to Fresno. It would be insignificant. They went down. They didn't even take the whole army. They thought, we've already defeated my Jericho. We've got this covered. We've got this taken care of. And they went down to this little bitty town, and they got their clocks cleaned. And they got defeated. And several thousand men lost their lives because they underestimated the challenge that lay before them. We don't need to be at either extreme. We don't need to be so fearful that we won't transition. You can't stay a high schooler and live in your mom and dad's house until you're 30 and they have to go to court and get you evicted forever. Or at least you shouldn't. You can't stay fearful of life like that. Nor Alex or anybody else in here should we ever go through life underestimating the challenges that we face. You know, one of the scariest things for me as both a pastor and a parent of teenagers is they do not have the maturity to make the decisions that they're making. Because the decisions that they're making are decisions that will affect the entire rest of their life. They're big boy and big girl decisions. And they don't have the maturity sometimes to be making those kind of decisions. And yet, it comes and they make them, and sometimes they learn from their mistakes. But I would challenge you, Alex, don't live in fear. But don't underestimate the challenge you're going to face either. It's going to be a lot tougher out there than you think it will. It's going to be a lot more difficult than maybe you think it will. And I know everybody, when I was a teenager, I wanted to be an adult. I thought, oh man, I can't wait till I be an adult. And then I realized being an adult just means several people send you bills every month that have to be paid. And that mom and dad don't give you $20 to go fill up your gas tank. You got to take that out of your paycheck and your bank account and go fill up your own tank. And then all of a sudden I wanted to be a kid again. And I realized at 46 years of age now, the challenge it is to be an adult. It's not easy. God doesn't want you to worry about lies ahead, but He doesn't want you to underestimate the challenges you'll face. Some are so eager for that transition from teen to adult, they don't consider the cost. They don't consider the concerns or the consequences that come with being an adult. Milestones, monuments, and markers help us understand that this is a serious thing. That this is a period of transition in our life. That is why Joshua is putting that marker down. He wants them to understand the page is being turned. Wandering is behind us, but a new challenge lies before us. Don't just think we've gotten victory because we've gotten across Jordan. There's great challenges that lie ahead of us, and we need to be ready to face it. We can't live in the past, nor should we underestimate the future. Then I see a second thing. I see not just the transition, I see the triumph. This was a marker about victory. It was the end of 40 years of wandering. It was a victorious moment. It was a moment of triumph. 40 years ago, they left their homes as slaves. Now they were finally arriving, and it was a day of great victory. And they had faced many challenges, many perils, many dangers. And I know that sounds just like high school, doesn't it? Dangers, perils, and challenges. But they had made it. If you've ever driven, how many has ever driven all the way across country? I've done it a couple of times. More than I ever want to again. That's why God invented airplanes. If you've ever driven all the way across this country, do you know what great joy and victory it is when you see "Welcome to" and it's your home state sign? It is like you have won a major victory in your life. Especially if you are coming from the east out west and you go through Texas. On I-10, have you ever driven I-10 through Texas? It is 970 some miles from tip to tip across Texas. And from the time you leave Louisiana to the time you get to El Paso, Texas, you feel like you have won a major victory in your life. You feel like you have really accomplished something, and you haven't done anything because there's nothing out there. You have driven mile after mile after mile, seeing nothing. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm talking about no gas stations, no nothing. There's not even cows in some of those places. I don't even think snakes live in some of those places. And you just drive and drive and drive and drive. And you think, oh man, we finally are through Texas. And then you get to New Mexico. And guess what? It's more nothing. And you drive and drive and drive across New Mexico, and you don't see hardly anything. And then you get to Arizona. And guess what? Until you get to Flagstaff, it's more nothing. And then after you get to Flagstaff, it's more nothing. Until you get to Kingman and Needles, California. And then when you leave Needles, California, you think, oh, I've arrived in California. I've finally got victory. And then you leave Needles, California, and you drive through some of the most barren, desolate land in all of the United States on the south end of Death Valley. I remember the very first time when I was a teenager, my family came out west, and we stopped and got gas in Needles in June, and it was 126 degrees. And you drive, it is 4 hours of solid driving from Needles, California to Barstow. And in that time, there is hardly a living creature. Not a bug, not a nothing out there. There is just dirt and rocks. And it is, man, when you cross the Tehachapi Pass on 58 and you see this big, beautiful valley down here, it is like, I have achieved victory. I have survived going across the western United States. I am now finally back in civilization. That's the way we feel in a car going 85 miles an hour. That's the speed limit in Texas, by the way, in West Texas, 85. That tells you how desolate it is. Could you imagine wandering around for 40 years? Wandering around in circles on foot for 40 years. And finally, you arrive at where you set out to go 40 years ago. It would be a day of great triumph. You would want to celebrate that. You would want to have a victory party. And going through high school is difficult. Going through school is difficult. And it is a sense of accomplishment, and it is a sense of triumph. And we should rejoice in that as we've done so tonight. You know, not everybody As we even heard tonight, not everybody graduates from high school. We've got adults right now in our midst that are working on getting their GED and getting their high school degree. My dad dropped out of high school out of high school to join the Navy. I think he was tired of the teachers telling him what to do, and so he thought he would go join the Navy. Boy, the surprise was on him, wasn't it? But I can remember as a teenager, about 12 or 13 years of age, my dad was working a full-time job, and he would take us back and forth to Christian school in the morning. And I can remember my dad started attending classes at night to go back and earn his GED. Now, that's one of the most proudest moments of my life, is that my dad went back and he accomplished that what he didn't do earlier in his life. And he already had a solid job. He didn't need to do it. He had worked at that job for many years and been paid well, but it was a victory that he had not achieved in his life. And such victories ought to be recognized. This is a day of great triumph for Israel, and it deserved to be honored and be remembered. And then I want you to see the last thing here. I want you to see the testament. Look at verse 6 and 7 again. The Bible says there, that this may be a sign among you, that when your children ask their fathers in time to come, saying, what mean ye by these stones? Then ye shall answer them that the waters of Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it passed over Jordan, the waters of Jordan were cut off, and these stones shall be a memorial unto the children of Israel forever. You know, we have monuments on battlefields spread across the world to remember the cost and the victory that was achieved on those battlefields. These 12 stones were to be a testament to future generations. That when future generations passed by this pile of these 12 huge stones, the kids would naturally be curious and say, what is this all about? And it was there their parents and their grandparents could tell them, look, our parents and our grandparents, they disobeyed God. And because of that, God sent them into a wilderness to wander for 40 years. But after 40 years, God gave us a second opportunity. And we obeyed God, and we believed in God, and we trusted in God, and we crossed the river Jordan. And that's why we live here in this country that we live in. And that's why you have the things that you have. And that's why you live in the home that you live in. These 12 stones were to be a testament to future generations. Now, Alex, from now until the end of your life, whatever you do with your diploma, mine's somewhere in my house, I think, somewhere, maybe in the office here, I'm not sure. I can walk by that and I can say, hey, there's a monument. I accomplished something. I did something. I know I've got my college diploma somewhere. I can walk by that and say, look, hey, I accomplished something more. I did something. I achieved something. And I can take my kids to that and I can show them. And I can, and if you think school is hard, you think algebra is hard, wait till you have to divide what little you have in your income to pay all your bills. Milestones, markers, and monuments help us remember that we've been through tough times before. And God brought us through it. God gave us the victory. We faced challenges and God's helped us overcome them. They are a testament to us and to others in the future of what has been achieved in the past, and what God has done in the past, He can do it again. Then I want you to see one more monument and I'll be done. Look with me in 1 Samuel chapter number 7. 1 Samuel chapter number 7. A very different monument. I've talked a lot about what we accomplished and what Alex has accomplished. And it may seem like I've left something or someone out. But Alex, you didn't get where you are today without help. And no person in here got where they are today without help. A testament, here we have a monument, a testament to assistance and help. And look with me here in 1 Samuel chapter number 7, look at verse number 10. The Bible says, "And as Samuel was offering up the burnt offering, the Philistines drew near to battle against Israel. But the Lord thundered with a great thunder on that day upon the Philistines and discomfited them, and they were smitten before Israel. And the men of Israel went out of Mizpah and pursued the Philistines and smote them until they came under Bethkar. Then Samuel took a stone and set it between Mizpah and Shin and called the name of it Ebenezer, saying, Hitherto hath the Lord helped us. So the Philistines were subdued, and they came no more into the coast of Israel, and the hand of the Lord was against the Philistines all the days of Samuel." Here Samuel took a monument, took a stone, and created a monument, and he called this monument by a particular name. He called it Ebenezer. Now that should ring a bell to you, because in one of my favorite hymns, the second verse, "To Come Thou Fount," says this: "Here I raise my Ebenezer, hither by thy help I come, and I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Jesus sought me when a stranger, wandering from the fold of God. He to rescue me from danger interposed His precious blood." That second stanza in "Come Thou Fount" is taken from this passage in 1 Samuel chapter number 7. And what it is talking about is a monument to cooperation. We all need help in life. You can't do it on your own. And just because you're 18 now, and just because you're graduating from high school, doesn't mean you don't need your parents' help, and doesn't mean you don't need other people's help. In fact, in some ways, you're going to need them more than ever. We need help in life. Two things to remember, and I'll be finished. Remember you needed help. Remember that you needed help. And whether you realize it or not, you didn't get here on your own. All along, you had God, parents, and others that God had placed in your life to help you get where you are today. None of us would be where we are today without the cooperation and help from others. Samuel raised this monument as a recognition that God had helped Israel. And we all could sit down tonight and we could count our many blessings and think about how many times God has helped us. And the truth is this: even if we thought of everyone that we could think of, we missed a bunch that we didn't even know about. A bunch of times in life that God helped us that we didn't even realize He helped us. Remembering what you studied on that test, that didn't happen by accident. God brought that to your mind. Remembering what you did not study for that test, but the teacher said it in class about 6 months ago, and you forgot was going to be on the midterm exam, it was God that brought that to memory. God helped you. And we ought to recognize that, and we ought to realize that we have needed God's help to get where we are today. You didn't do this on your own. Your parents helped you. Your teachers helped you. Your grandparents encouraged you. Your friends inspired you. But most of all, in a million little unseen ways, God has helped you. He helped you understand difficult concepts. He helped you do the work that you needed to do. And God helps each and every one of us every day in a million different ways that we don't even realize. Hey, how shameful for us to act as if we do this thing of life all on our own. We don't. The truth is, you needed God to get where you are today. And without His cooperation and help, where would you be? But then the second thing to remember is this: not only that you needed help, that you still need help. You'll need help. If we just need to honor the help that has been given, we might just say thank you and move on. But Samuel erected a monument because he realized, yes, God has helped us this day, and we want to show Him our appreciation and thanks for that. But I'm setting up a monument because I want Israel, every time they pass by this monument, to realize they still need God's help. And that God will help them. And if you'll stay cooperative with God and your parents and with others, you'll find they'll be willing to help you in the future. Defiant people want to do things their own way without help. All such people are headed for failure. They desire to be self-sufficient, but the truth is none of us are self-sufficient. We all need a little help along the way. We all need people to guide us. We all need people to watch over us and protect us. I'm amazed that there's some people like that call themselves God's people. They come in here and they sit down. They don't talk to anybody and they're not friendly. And they live life as if they could get by without people. And you can't. I don't care whether you're married or I don't care whether you have 10 kids or no kids. I don't care whether you're single or what. We all need each other. We need people. We need people in our life. People that God brings in our life. Sooner or later, you're going to need people to help you. You might have hip replacement or foot surgery. Or you might twist your knee in the grocery store. Sooner or later, you're going to need people to help you. Don't burn all your bridges. Don't isolate yourself and become a cranky curmudgeon. Be friendly to people. Realize that not only have you needed help in the past, you're going to need help in the future. And that's why you need to stay close to God. You need to stay right with your parents. You're adults, I know. But this thing of honoring your parents, it doesn't even die with your parents. It dies with you. You're to honor them as long as you live, not as long as they live, as long as you live. You can honor your parents. You need to stay right with your parents. And you need to stay in fellowship with other believers. If you develop a big shot attitude and think you don't need help, then you're going to cut yourself off from help. God is willing and waiting and wanting to help any of us. But we have to want His help. God's not going to force His help upon us. And we need to recognize that we need His help. So let's enjoy today. Let's honor it. It's a milestone. It's a marker. It's the end of one part of this young man's life and a doorway to a new other part. But don't ever forget, Alex, you didn't get here on your own. You needed help to get here. And you're going to need help going forward. You're going to need lots of help going forward. And so show your appreciation to those that have helped you along the way. Show your appreciation and honor them for the help that they've given you and that they deserve. And then don't forget, they'll always be there to help you in the future. Great challenges lie ahead of each one of us. You don't know what tomorrow holds. Some of you are well past that 70. You don't know what tomorrow's hold. Even if you're not. You don't know what tomorrow's going to hold. None of us do. But I know who holds it. And I know if I'll stay right with Him, He's helped me today, He'll be there to help me tomorrow. And I need to erect a monument to help in my life. That's what Ebenezer means. Ebenezer simply means the stone of help. That's what it means. It means the stone of help. And I'll tell you what, our God is a rock. He's the stone of all stones. He's the cornerstone. He's the rock of ages. He is the rock of help. And we need to erect Him in our life and honor Him and thank Him. our heads bowed and our eyes closed, and Don's coming to the piano. Maybe you just want to do that tonight. Maybe you just want to thank the Lord. I know it's graduation service, but that message was for all of us. Every one of us didn't get where we are in life by ourselves. You wouldn't be where you are today without God. And maybe tonight, with heads bowed and eyes closed, when we're standing at our feet and Don's playing, you just want to slip down here to the altar and tell the Lord, thank you.